Hey y'all, welcome back. You are officially tapping into Opinionated Diva Presents Plenty of Tiff. I'm your host, Tiffany, aka Opinionated Diva. We have officially hit the big 2-0. Episode 20 is in the building. Can we just take a quick second to give a little noise for consistency here? If this is your first time pulling up a seat, let me set the record straight. On this show, we do not do boring, we do not do filters, and we certainly do not do fake news. We are diving deep into the cultural headlines that actually matter, breaking down the narratives and reading the room so you don't have to. The microphone is hot, the receipts are verified, and your girl is feeling highly opinionated today. So adjust your volume, put your phone on D&D, and let's dive straight into the Diva Drop. Let's start with one half of the legendary media mogul friendship duo that is Gayle King. Gayle sat down with Alex Cooper on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Now, let me clear the room first. I am no hater, okay? I am not throwing shade at Alex Cooper or her mega platform. But when I saw the episode drop, the first thought I had was, why was this the podcast Gayle chose to go on and share intimate details of her life? And I know, it's like, girl, that sounds like high key, authentic hate. But hear me out. I don't think Alex or half the people listening to her podcast remember or even know what Gayle was talking about. They were either today years old or, in Alex's case, maybe they learned it through research prep. This affair happened in 1990. Alex was born in 1994. And the majority of her Call Her Daddy podcast audience were probably also waiting for the stork to come get them and take them to their forever home. However, I get it. There are many people I would love to interview, and I'm sure I only know 5% of the lives they have lived. So I'm not saying Alex doesn't deserve the interview, and I'm sure many, including little old me, would have loved to be the one that Gayle chose. But alas, it was all a dream. In any event, Gayle opened up a whole new world to a generation or two of people who had absolutely no clue about her past. And honestly, I can't be mad at that. Maybe that was her game plan all along. For those who missed it, Gayle went deep into some of the headlines that have hung over her like a rain cloud throughout the years. Primarily the rumors that she and Oprah are in a secret lesbian relationship. Y'all do Stedman so dirty, and all he do is drink water and mind his business. And the breakdown of her marriage to her ex-husband, William Bumpus. The latter is the one that set the internet on fire. Gayle said she came home early from a trip after her flight got canceled. She walks into her own house. The alarm goes off, which she thought was kind of weird. And well, normally I'm no spoiler, but spoiler alert. She found her close friend, a woman her kids called Auntie, hiding behind the door naked, wrapped in Gayle's own nice bath towel. And the rest, as they say, is 36-year-old history. I do find it odd that the media has not uncovered who the other woman is. I can respect Gayle, William, and their two kids for not spilling the tea, but TMZ and Page Six, how dare you? Actually, National Enquirer, enter the chat. Did y'all know that they're still up and running? Celebrity gossip never dies, I guess. But yes, I know it would potentially upend this other woman's life, but did she think about that when she was in Gayle's bath towel, in Gayle's house, and for sure in Gayle's bed before not fighting temptation? Somebody knows. Hell, honey, everybody know. But they aren't in our tax bracket, and they are for sure signing some unofficial mental Oprah will ruin you NDA. However, I'm not going to gossip, so you ain't hear from me. And if you were around for In Living Color and Miss Jenkins, you get that reference. But this brings me to another point. Her ex-husband, William, issued a public apology. Again, the media is covering this story as if this is breaking news, which technically this latest admission and apology is, but confusing the baby by making it appear as if this is the first time she publicly talked about it or he publicly acknowledged and apologized for it is pure trickery for headlines and clicks, okay? This man, in fact, did not wait 36 years to apologize. William actually issued a public apology 10 years ago when Gayle briefly mentioned the incident in 2016 during a Q&A interview with Vanity Fair. They asked her to name a living person she despised, and she joked, "I'm not a huge fan of the woman I caught naked with my now ex-husband on June 24th, 1990 at 9:16 p.m., but I don't remember the details." Yes, Gayle. But seriously, back then he released a public apology statement and went on to praise Gayle for handling herself with grace, prioritizing their kids, all of that. He basically said the same thing again this past week after the podcast clip started making their rounds on the internet. Gayle spoke to TMZ and was surprised they actually found him and that he talks because he is a private person. But she said that she appreciated what he had to say and they're in a good place now. I mean, it was a long time ago. However, honey, a woman never forgets. Gayle acknowledged that she was surprised by the support she is receiving from other women. I don't know why she's surprised. Gayle, you showed us that you are a vulnerable, real woman who went through the exact same heartbreak and betrayal that so many of us have faced already. She showed us you can survive it and still become the queen of your own universe. And for her, that was journalism, morning television, and beyond. I actually just saw Holly Berry on Today Show with Jenna and Chanel, and she also praised Gayle for being so open about heartbreak that she too had been cheated on. Honey, 36 years, 3 years, 3 months, or 3 minutes ago, there is a cheating ass dog somewhere, woman or man, sitting next to someone else, woman or man, breaking our trust in 4K. Okay? Sometimes we just can't see the forest for the trees. Guilty. Stay safe out there, y'all, and let's put ourselves first in 2026. I do love that Gayle introduced her history to a younger crowd who probably only knew her as a serious journalist on CBS, honey, because that R. Kelly interview lives rent-free in all of our heads. But I still think there is a few other podcasters out there, me, who could have connected with her on a deeper, more cultural level over the trifling ass man and his side chick. Before we move on to the next segment, I want to give a quick Diva Drop mention to the American Music Awards. Did anybody out there even realize the AMAs actually happened? Because I don't know about you, but my timeline was on Nothing to See Here. It received almost zero mainstream media coverage and absolutely no cultural buzz. Now, y'all know I wasn't going to watch it anyway because my attention span is on does anyone get murdered during the show? But kudos to all the winners and shout out to the performers. But this got me thinking because I remember the AMAs used to be a major staple on the television calendar. So after doing some digging, the reality is that the AMAs are currently sitting outside the club of network television and can't get in. Here is a breakdown of why, according to my non-scientific research, this is happening. Historically, the AMAs have always owned the fall TV season, usually airing in November when the music industry is hot and heavy. But for some reason, they decided to move the entire production to Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day? Honey, people are at a backyard barbecue eating potato salad and ribs. They are not trying to sit inside and watch a 3-hour awards broadcast. It completely threw off the traditional music release and promotional cycle. And because the timing was so out of sync, the actual star power was slim pickings. The biggest names in music did not even show up at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Hello, come on. Taylor Swift led the nominations, even though she ended up going 0 for 8. But winners like Billie Eilish completely skipped the physical red carpet and just sent in basic virtual video messages to say thank you. If the A-listers aren't even booking a flight to Vegas for your trophy, should the audience at home really be tuning in on the television, right? And because of the missing A-list talent like Taylor, Billie, Sabrina Carpenter, Gaga, and the like, though there was talent in the room, don't get me wrong, I See You, Tiana Taylor, Pussycat Dolls, New Kids on the Block, Cat's Eye, and there were some more, but you can Google that. The production relied heavily on influencers because of this missing A-list talent. Now, some viewers and critics have frequently pointed out that the recent broadcast features more and more social media influencers than actual musicians or A-list celebrities, leading some fans to complain that the show feels like a popularity contest or a train wreck devoid of star power. Not my words, theirs. The other major bummer this year is that even though BTS won Artist of the Year, their entire performance was a pre-taped segment played on a screen. And they were there, so why didn't they perform? I don't know. Finally, my research concluded that due to the AMAs officially moving over from ABC to CBS, and you know how we feel about CBS, honey, long live Colbert. And between the production issues and the misguided holiday scheduling, they lost their broadcast momentum. But what say you? Did y'all even know the VMAs were on this weekend? Or were you too busy enjoying your backyard barbecue? Let me know in the comments. Speaking of barbecue, let's move right along to our next segment, Shine, Shade, or Side Eye. First up, let's talk about Lizzo's internet takeover. She has been busy promoting a lot of new music lately, including the remake of go-go classic Sexy Lady from her third studio album, Bitch, to her collab with Sexy Red for the song Hose, which is featured on the Scary Movie soundtrack. But what really caught my attention was Lizzo's new chili commercial singing about them baby back ribs. Okay. Now, when I first saw this drop on my timeline, I had to pause. I saw the comments immediately flooded with people comparing it to Mary J. Blige's infamous Burger King commercial from back in the day. And because y'all know I'm going to keep it 100, I couldn't just blindly jump on the hype train with this. I remember exactly how I felt about Mary's commercials then, even talking about it some episodes back. Feel free to go find it on your own. And I feel the exact same way now because I am no hypocrite. So I cannot give this moment a full 100% blinding shine. However, I got to keep it real and break it down as a 98.5% shine and a very necessary 1.5% side eye. Let me live in my truth, okay? Let's start with the 98.5% shine. Because what Lizzo did here was actually a masterclass in flipping the script. At the very beginning of the commercial, she directly pokes fun at the whole concept of celebrities getting secured for these corporate jingle checks. She literally says on camera she is absolutely not willing to do a commercial singing about food. But then she said, how much? And did a complete 180. And what it's doing is giving us full production musical number for Chili's. And I'm not mad at it at all. But here's the key difference between Lizzo and the Mary J situation. The level of creative control. Lizzo didn't just show up, stand in front of a green screen and sing about crispy chicken wrapped in tortillas. She was clearly deeply involved in the production and the vocal arrangement and the choreography and the entire visual aesthetic. And she didn't just sing some random new song. She took the actual classic Chili's baby back ribs jingle, which has been an institution since the mid-'80s. And she reimagined it with her own signature flute and performance style. It felt like a Lizzo production that happened to feature ribs rather than a corporate boardroom using her as a prop. It was smart, it was intentional, and to be honest, it looked fire and funny. So, why do we still hold that 1.5% side eye? Because I cannot rewrite history. When Mary J did that Burger King commercial singing about that crispy chicken, it felt entirely different. There was no irony, no self-awareness, and it felt like the corporate executives just handed her, the legendary R&B queen, a piece of paper and said, go stand over there and sing about the menu. It stripped away her artistry and left us scratching our head like, girl, Mary, who approved this? So my mini side eye to Lizzo's commercial isn't even really about Lizzo. It's about the reminder of how the industry used to handle our legends versus how they get to play the game now. I love that Lizzo had the power to make it a collaboration instead of just a corporate cash grab. But because that ghost of Burger King, honey, still haunts my spirit, I got to keep that 1.5% side eye locked in just to stay true to who I am. At the end of the day, Lizzo got her check. She kept her creative dignity, and she gave a whole new energy to a jingle that is older than most of her fan base. I call that a win and a shine, even if I'm keeping a tiny bit of side eye in my back pocket. But what do you all think? Are y'all giving Lizzo the full 100% shine, or are you sitting with me in the 98.5% lounge? Did it give secondhand Mary J flashbacks, or are we letting it live in its own moment? Let me know in the comments. Speaking of money grab, let's talk about convicted teenage double murderer Mackenzie Shirilla. This true crime story has been popping back up in everyone's timeline thanks to the new Netflix documentary, The Crash. Now, no one got paid to participate in the documentary, but follow me about the cash grab. If you are a true crime addict like me, you already know about this story a long time ago. Thank you, Investigation Discovery. I've seen the episodes, I know the background, and I actually watched the documentary to stay abreast of what's going on. And it all points to one big side of shade. For those who need a quick refresher, back in 2022, Mackenzie Shirilla was 17 years old when she intentionally accelerated her car to 100 miles per hour and slammed into a brick building in Ohio. She killed her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, Davion Flanagan. There were zero brake marks. It was a deliberate, calculated double homicide crash. She was convicted as an adult and sentenced to 15 years to life. But honey, her behavior after that conviction is where the real trash behavior begins. And the words of a wise man, she can go on and get the hell on, her and her mama. Let's start with the uncovered jailhouse phone calls between Mackenzie and her mother. When this girl was locked up, she and her mama were caught on prison phone lines speaking to each other in this bizarre coded gibberish language, thinking they were being slick. But guess what? The prosecutors decoded it all and used it against them in trial. Now, I need to issue a public service announcement to anyone out there listening, because all I know is Pig Latin, okay? And honestly, I barely even know that. So I have 3 questions for this mother-daughter duo. Number 1, how do you even teach your children to speak in this secret gibberish code language? Number 2, why? I mean, in this day and age, sure, I know it is to build cognitive skills, bonding, yada, 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 but I don't know, especially in your case, because number 3, why are you continuing to play these childish games when your daughter is literally a grown adult sitting in jail for killing 2 people? The enablement of it all. This girl and her mama thought they were still speaking in a secret gibberish code where they added Eza to every syllable, but the prosecutors easily cracked that. I wouldn't have been able to. A detective recorded Mackenzie from her hospital bed asking, "Can we tell the police I had a seizure?" completely blowing up her defense medical emergency claim and proving she was trying to orchestrate a cover-up from day one. If Eza, you Eza, say Eza, so Eza. Did I say that right? But wait, it gets more ridiculous. Additional jailhouse calls were uncovered where Mackenzie is plotting on how to get Kim Kardashian to be her lawyer to overturn her conviction. On the recording, she tells the person on the phone, and I quote, "Tell her I buy all her Skims and I only wear Skims." First of all, trash. Absolute trash. You were sitting in prison convicted of a double murder, and instead of thinking about the two young lives you stole or how their families are suffering every single day, you're worrying about buying shapewear because you think it's going to buy you a celebrity legal defense. Second of all, Kim Kardashian is actually doing great work with criminal justice reform, but she is not a practicing trial attorney, period. And even if she was, she can't just magically walk into an Ohio courtroom and erase a murder conviction. Anyway, Kim's team already released a statement saying basically hard pass. And her trash behavior does not stop there. An ex-inmate named Kim Crowder recently came out and exposed to multiple media outlets about her time as Mackenzie's cellmate for 6 months. I mean, Kat, I'm going to give you a little side eye right here because thank you for the tea. And if you have more and you want to share it, I can only pay in Starbucks gift cards because, well, look around. This is my budget. In any event, she said that Mackenzie was basically a mean girl. I don't know how because she literally weighs 100 pounds soaking wet and allegedly cashed in and made money from prison by using pen pal, sugar baby, and sugar daddy websites. Now, if it was anybody else, honey, get that commissary popping. At the time she was committed for the crime, she was 17. But by the time she was convicted, she was 19. The perfect age for a non-incarcerated sugar baby. But Mackenzie, this is not a good look for you, baby girl, especially if you are trying to go for appeals. Which I want to say your last appeal was denied because your legal team was 1 day late in filing. Girl, okay, maybe I see why you wanted Kim. Okay, but moving on. I have one final message, and this is for her friend Rosie, who we were introduced to on the Netflix documentary. Also trash. Yeah, you could say that production edited out your full explanations, but what about the prosecutor who was, quote, fascinated that you even agreed to be on the documentary, given the fact that you were uncooperative during the actual investigation? But also, how much explanation do you need to say Mackenzie needs to pay for what happened, no matter how tragic or accidental you think it was, or that you were not in the car, so you don't know what the hell happened? You could have said that. It is understandable that you think you know your friend and you cannot fathom that she would go full throttle into a building at 100 miles per hour without braking on purpose. But to flat out deny knowing her ass is crazy based on released text messages, secret audio, and her own social media posts, I'm giving you, the mama, and her daddy actually a major side eye. I could go on because I feel like I'm leaving so much out of this whole story, but we have to move on. My true crime people, let me know if I need to start a whole side podcast called Plenty of Murder. Okay, let's end this segment on a high note, shall we? I have got to take a minute or two to throw some major, well-deserved shine to the New York Knicks. The city is absolutely electric right now because the Knicks are officially heading to the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years. The last time the orange and blue touched the final stage was 1999. But considering literally half of the current roster was not even born the last time that happened, this might as well be a lifetime ago. Madison Square Garden is shaking in anticipation. The Knicks gear is everywhere, and I am here for every single bit of the celebration. I've been through some major, not so good events in the city since moving here, but it feels good to be part of a historic moment. I am happy that I'll be able to say I was here when and actually have a positive spin on what I'm talking about. We are watching history here in New York in real time, y'all. Huge congrats to the Knicks. Keep those blue and orange lights up at the Empire State Building, and let's bring that trophy home, okay? We made it to the final segment, and I honestly cannot believe I even have to talk about this. It is time to read the room. And today, I need the Palm Beach County Sheriff Office in Florida to read the damn room. There is body cam video going completely viral right now of a woman named Kathleen Thomas down in Lake Worth Beach, Florida. She gets pulled over by a Palm Beach County deputy who claims she was driving distracted due to her holding her cell phone in her right hand. Now, Kathleen initially laughs because she thinks it's just a funny misunderstanding. She holds up her arm to show the officer the reality. Her right arm stops at her elbow. She doesn't have a right hand. Now, logically, the interaction should have ended right there and there would have been a massive apology, right? But no, because instead of admitting a glaring mistake, this officer decided to give a body cam footage full of cringe. The deputy's name is Yosvani Quesada, and Deputy Quesada, his brain completely short-circuited on camera. Instead of letting Kathleen go about her day, he moves into the most awkward exchange I've ever had to witness. He says to her, "Hand to God, you didn't have a phone in your hand?" First of all, how old are you? And second of all, no, seriously, how old are you? Are we on a school playground right now? Why are you swearing hand to God over a traffic citation? But it even gets worse. Kathleen, being a good sport, raises her right arm. And this officer has the audacity to look at her and say, "No, the other hand to God." Jesus. The cringe ran so deep, it might as well be stuck in the cave with those men who are mining for gold and louse. God bless those 5 men who were saved, and prayers to the 2 who are still missing. But back to Officer Quesada. He really told a woman with an amputated right arm that her limb wasn't sufficient hand to raise to God. So she had to use her left. And even though he tries to backpedal and says, well, maybe not the right hand, he still doubles down on his power trip and writes her a $116 ticket, telling her she can just go argue it in front of a judge. But you see, Kathleen is a smart cookie. She gets a hold of that official body cam footage and posts the whole ridiculous interaction to her TikTok. And surprise, surprise, the internet goes wild, the media catches wind of it, and the public scrutiny starts turning up the heat. Clearly, here we are. Now, Kathleen was fully prepared to show up to the courthouse, look the judge in the eye, and let common sense win the day. But Deputy Quesada realized the entire world was laughing at him. So just days ago, right before they were scheduled to walk into that courtroom, he folded. Or his boss told him, "If you don't get your ass down into that courtroom and end this meow before we become a laughing stock of the United States," too late. Anywho, he rushed to court himself and filed a request to have the ticket thrown out, suddenly claiming there was insufficient evidence. Really, sir? Insufficient evidence? You mean the physical and mathematical impossibility of her holding a phone with a hand that she doesn't possess? That wasn't enough evidence for you on day one? The court officially granted dismissal this week, and Kathleen didn't even have to step foot inside a courtroom to fight it. She just jumped back on TikTok and joked, "Bro, we knew that already." This brings me to the bigger conversation about basic human pride and knowing when to take an L. The ego on display here is staggering. This incident should have been over before it even started. The second I saw that she didn't even have a right hand, I would have shrunk down to the level of her rearview mirror, apologized profusely, and walked back to my cruiser with my tail tucked between my legs. I may have even taken that information and that incident back to my precinct and made it a teachable moment on how to actually use your eyes. But this is exactly why the public loses trust in law enforcement, because some officers don't even trust themselves enough to look at reality, admit when they are wrong, and apologize. Please read the room, drop the ego, and know when you've been beat by facts in your face or literally missing. I mean, was there any other way to really close out episode 20? Plenty of tips. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. But look at us. I am so proud of the space we are building here together. Entirely grassroots, honey, over here. You should see me when I get like 1 new subscriber. I go completely insane in my head. But y'all already know the drill. The conversation does not end here just because this mic is about to be turned off. I need you to drop down in those comments right now and read the room for me. Did the blogs trick you into thinking Gayle King's ex just apologized yesterday and not 10 years ago? Did you even know the AMAs were on over the weekend? And seriously, how long would you have made Deputy Quesada sit in that awkward silence? I can only imagine if it was me. I would have just stared at him with my chin resting on my elbow until he blinked first. But seriously, let me know your thoughts about today's episode, previous episodes, or anything in between. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and share this episode with somebody who needs a reality check today. You can find me on IG at Opinionated Diva and TikTok at The Opinionated Diva. And with that, keep your standards high, Keep those eyes open and your hand to God, the correct hand, please, honey. Okay. I will catch y'all here next week. All right. Until episode 21. Peace.